In this video, I'll be diving a little deeper into the psychological factors to keep in mind when creating XR experiences, so let's go ahead and get started. As I've mentioned in my Medium blog article, Psychological Factors in XR, due to the nature of alternate realities and the level of immersion they can create, all of the emotional reactions we have to things in real life still carry over into mixed and virtual reality. So it's important to take this into consideration when asking people to put on a headset and step into a virtual environment. If the person suffers from anxiety, PTSD, or has an extreme fear of heights, spiders, confined spaces, or even large spaces, or any other kind of phobias, they will most likely still have those same reactions in an XR experience. And sometimes it's necessary to try to induce stress during training simulations, for example, such as for safety or hazard training. You may want to train people to get used to being in a certain type of situation so that they can react appropriately if they come across that situation in the real world, such as training police officers on how to handle an active shooter event. However, you want to be careful not to induce trauma or PTSD during the training process. So it's highly recommended to consult a psychiatric professional when creating these types of simulations to ensure that it's not going to end up causing more harm than good. As we live our lives and information is gathered and processed, our perception of the world changes within our subconscious minds. The more we're exposed to a certain type of experience, the more it influences our perceptions and understanding of reality. Due to the nature of the relationship between the orbitofrontal cortex and the visual cortex in the formation of delusion, repeatedly exposing someone to an immersive experience that is extremely different from reality increases the risk of forming delusional beliefs and altering their understanding of reality. As such, mixed reality and virtual reality pose a potential risk for delusion if the experience is not designed responsibly and ethically. Again, in a situation where you're designing an experience that is very different from reality, it would be recommended to consult a psychiatric professional. And now I'll walk you through a practical example of this with a very convincing experience from Toast VR. If you've never experienced VR for yourself, it's hard to grasp how immersive the experience can be, even if the graphics are a lower quality. Our brains just naturally fill in the blanks. So, of course, the higher the quality of the graphics, the higher the immersion into the experience, and thus the easier it is to trick the brain. When you step into this experience, you really do feel like you're actually there. Yet it doesn't quite hit home until you're forced to decide whether or not to step out onto that plank or to get back in the elevator and ride back to the ground safely. Your instincts just automatically kick in whether you want them to or not. So if you're even slightly afraid of heights in the real world, you're going to feel that same feeling when you're at heights in this experience. And if you are brave enough to step out onto that plank, that feeling of balance and instability that you get when you're trying to balance on something in the real world, that's going to be present here as well. When I first tried this experience, I was surprised at how difficult it was to actually step out onto the plank. And the further out you walk, the more that natural instinct of fear of falling kicks in. So let's take a look at how Toast VR solved the problem of all of the potential negative repercussions of this experience. At the very beginning, before the experience loads, you receive a health and safety warning letting you know that heights are involved and that this can be an intensely emotional experience. They remind you of the real physical environment that you can no longer see and warn you not to do anything rash like jumping or physically falling. They also recommend a safety spotter be within arm's reach so that they can assist you if you do fall or become paralyzed with fear. I've watched people try this experience. The fear is real. They also have in-world signage in the elevator reminding you to take into consideration any health conditions and to be mindful of your real surroundings. And again, make sure someone is with you who can help you if you physically fall. And on a side note, they handle the challenge of motion sickness very well in the plank experience. You ride an elevator up to heights, but you can still peek through the cracks in the elevator doors to see that you're riding up. Also, if you're even braver and choose to step off the plank, you'll fall virtually. At first, when falling, you can get that feeling of your stomach dropping, but it goes away almost immediately. The motion accelerates gradually and remains at a steady pace. And now finally, an important thing to note about the potential of trauma. In real life, if someone survived this, they would most likely be traumatized potentially for the rest of their lives. You don't want this to be the result of any virtual experience that you create. Toast VR understood this and tastefully ended the fall by fading everything to white and playing calming music. Your experiences don't have to show the full gory end result. They can still get the point across without traumatizing your target audience for life. So far, none of the people I've observed walked away from this experience wishing they'd never done it. We always make it very clear that they can choose to ride back down the elevator. In my experience, those who do choose to step, note that I said step off, not jump off the plank, find it very exhilarating. All of them have been amazed at how immersive and convincing it is, regardless of the choice that they make in the end. This also, in turn, makes Richie's plank experience a great introduction into the world of XR to have stakeholders or clients gain more buy-in into the value that XR can have in your organization. And if you don't have a strong phobia of heights, I highly encourage you to check it out for yourselves in VR on Steam, Oculus, Viveport, and PSVR. I've included the link below in the show notes. So for a quick recap, include warnings in your experiences if the content has the potential to trigger phobias, PTSD, stress, or delusion. Consult a psychological professional for these types of experiences to make sure you're taking any design precautions necessary to reduce trauma or delusion. And use XR ethically and design responsibly. Don't purposefully create an experience that will have negative psychological repercussions on your target audience. And don't cut corners. Take the necessary steps to ensure a safe experience for everyone.